The United States is pressing its European allies to take on far greater NATO defense responsibilities by 2027, according to Reuters, emphasizing that Washington expects a significant shift in burden sharing within just a few years. American officials have warned that the U.S. may withdraw from certain NATO planning mechanisms if it feels that European progress remains too slow, underscoring how serious and consequential these expectations have become. Reuters reported that Pentagon staff briefed diplomats in Washington this week, stressing the urgency of what they described as a tight and rapidly approaching deadline. Washington also signaled that it is growing increasingly dissatisfied with Europe's efforts to boost defense readiness following the war in Ukraine, suggesting that current improvements still fall short of what the U.S. believes is necessary. These conventional defense capabilities, everything from trained military personnel to a wide array of non-nuclear weapon systems, remain central to NATO's ability to deter future threats across the continent. Yet officials did not clarify how the United States intends to measure Europe's progress toward assuming a larger share of the security burden, leaving many allies unsure about the exact benchmarks involved. It also remains unclear whether this 2027 deadline reflects the personal views of President Trump or whether it stems solely from the assessments of Pentagon officials shaping current policy. According to reporting, major disagreements continue to unfold within Washington over how expansive the U.S. military role in Europe should remain, revealing deep divisions inside America's defense establishment. Pentagon Press Secretary Kingsley Wilson said, and I quote, "We've been very clear in the need for Europeans to lead in the conventional defense of Europe. We are committed to working through NATO coordination mechanisms to strengthen the alliance and ensure its long-term viability. As European allies increasingly take on responsibility for conventional deterrence and defense in Europe." European officials argue that the 2027 deadline is not realistic, citing large production delays and capability gaps that would take far longer to close than Washington seems to acknowledge. They say Europe needs far more than political commitment and additional funding to replace key U.S. capabilities within NATO, especially those involving advanced military technologies. Among the biggest challenges are severe production backlogs for the equipment many countries are now trying to acquire, meaning new systems could take years to roll off assembly lines. Meanwhile, U.S. officials have repeatedly encouraged European allies to buy more American-made material and weapons, urging them to modernize quickly using established U.S. defense suppliers. However, even the most sophisticated U.S.-made systems would take years to deliver if European governments placed new orders today, further complicating the timeline. The United States also provides crucial capabilities, such as high-level intelligence and surveillance assets, that Europe simply cannot purchase or replicate in the short term, regardless of funding. Donald Trump has long argued that European nations must contribute far more to the NATO alliance, insisting that the current model places too heavy a burden on the United States. On the campaign trail, he even declared that he would encourage Russia to target NATO members that fail to meet spending commitments, a statement that shocked many allied governments. Yet at the NATO summit, Trump praised member states for backing his proposal to raise defense spending targets to 5% of GDP, calling it a necessary step toward stronger collective defense. Since then, Trump has oscillated between taking a hard line on Russia and signaling his willingness to negotiate, leaving allies uncertain about his long-term strategic intentions. European officials have complained that they've been largely excluded from those U.S.-Russia negotiations, raising concerns that decisions affecting the continent could be made without their input. Many NATO members fear that missing the 2027 deadline could undermine the alliance's post-war structure, weakening its credibility at a time of rising geopolitical threats. These concerns intensified after Spiegel reported that France and Germany warned that Washington might ultimately betray Ukraine by urging concessions to secure a peace deal. President Macron reportedly warned President Zelensky that Ukraine could be pressed into giving up territory without receiving concrete security guarantees, a scenario he believes could leave Kyiv dangerously exposed.
25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that look, you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest news makers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the U.S. will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry guards.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HD videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.
पच्चीस करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that look, you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest news makers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the U.S. will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry guards.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HD videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.